Let's go. Welcome back to the Spiel Sports Talk Show. We are live and we have a lot to talk about tonight across all of the different major sports, from baseball to basketball. We're going to talk some MMA. Of course, we're going to talk about the NFL. And I am your host. It's Sal. It's a Muslim. And I'm here with the brightest and sharpest minds in sports. Let's talk to our panelists here. All the way out in Arizona, we have Quai Jones, Lotus Jones, Black Belichick himself. How are you doing, man? How's your fantasy weekend?
It's 50-50. I mean, fantasy weekend was one of one, so could be better. We can't get that to 100%, but it's a bit just like the NFL. It's been a very, very close season, and so I feel like it's still anyone's game. I still have very, very much of a chance. So that's always exciting, and as long as you have a chance, you should always keep fighting. But as always, I'm excited to be with the gang tonight and to do the show and give some good information and talk some good sports to all of our viewers now and in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's always a pleasure having you. We were just watching, I think it was episode 1 that was live on Twitch about, at this point, 7 years ago. And it was just, I remember just us two talking NFL, and now it's evolved into the sports talk show that we all love. So over on the East Coast, we have Randy, Arlo Vision. How you doing, bro? What's good with you? What's new?
Chilling. Another week. Always good to talk sports with the boys. I think this fall has been exciting across a lot of different sports. So it's kind of cool to see some new seasons starting, some seasons getting halfway through, and just chop up kind of all the run-of-the-mill topics and kind of give our takes on things.
Yeah, for sure. It's always the best to do it here, unfiltered. I don't come up to these guys and be like, "Oh, we gotta, make sure you give this take." It's just whatever we feel on the show, and I think that's why we all love it. So let's move quickly to the NFL and talk about those Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been all around town over the last couple of days, and it has been probably the gloomiest this city has been about its football team. And Aaron Rodgers had its reunion with the Packers and almost had the chance to be the first player to beat all the teams in the NFL, but it wasn't the veteran who ended up winning. It was his successor, Jordan Love, who lit up the Steelers defense in the second half. The Steelers started off the first half with a bunch of drives that ended up in field goals. A lot of what ifs happened. There was a missed call on a false start. Deshaun Elliott's big injury. Tucker Kraft was not flagged for offensive pass interference on that same play. So again, a lot of what ifs happened in this. Another cool thing about that game, Jordan Love tied Brett Favre's franchise record with 20 straight completions. So it's a franchise record for the Packers there, and ended up with 134.2 passer rating. Does this mean Love is elite? Or was this more about the Steelers' defense collapsing in the second half, Quay?
Well, you kind of touch upon a few things. Yeah, I knew we were going to talk about or had them ready to go in the notes. But to start off, I think the Jordan Love thing is he's always had the potential. I feel like you could easily say any quarterback right now obviously could destroy the Steelers defense. Sorry. Camera issues, camera. feel like you could say any. Feel like you could say any quarterback right now can destroy the Steelers' offense or destroy the Steelers' defense. The secondary right now can't cover anyone. The linebackers here are. I don't know. It's just like we can't cover a drag. We can't cover the flats. We can't do anything in the secondary. And it's been looking really bad. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything that Jordan Love has done because he has been really, really good. And I think this is the potential everyone has always talked about with him. They just need to see the consistency. Sometimes he just makes that one decision where you're like, why did you do that? But he didn't make any of those mistakes this past game. They were down and he was able to rally once things were given to him. And I don't necessarily just mean, the officiating, which I want to get into that you mentioned. It did seem like there were weird missed calls or made calls that didn't really make any sense, particularly an offsides on a 3rd and long that would have made it a 3rd and short, so more like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Aaron Rodgers had a free play. Somehow that does not get called. You have 2 line judges, and that's literally their only responsibility. So, and I say this all the time, it doesn't make sense when you're a viewer of the game and you're able to see and call out things, but these officials cannot. And this wasn't the only game that happened this week. It's happened in other games this week, and it happened 2 weeks ago with the Chiefs, where I've never heard of a team either that has played such a clean game that not one penalty was called, and it makes you wonder sometimes. So. But no, again, that's not taking anything away from Jordan Love because, again, Jordan Love played amazing. Aaron Rodgers, again, even though he lost this game, he continues to play great football for the Steelers, steady quarterback play. It's things that we haven't had in a while. The defense has really been letting him down, and we need to improve on that end so we can win these games. We were up 16-7. You can't lose that game. Going into the half, you had the ball. Again, maybe that missed offsides would change the game. Maybe that missed offensive pass interference on Deshaun Elliott from Tucker Kraft. Maybe that changes the game as well. So who knows? But again, shout out there to Jordan Love. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers for the steady QB play all season. It just really looks like the Steelers, we really need a wide receiver too to kind of open up and change the dynamic of this offense. I know Roman Wilson had a better game, but it's one of those things where is that going to be a consistent thing? And if the Steelers' aspirations are a Super Bowl, which again, we talked about this early on, in this season, where Omar Khan has put chips all in. It seems as though we want to win a Super Bowl. We want to go to the Super Bowl. So if that's the case, I feel like we have to go out there and get that wide receiver too, whether that is Rashid Shaheed, as the rumors are saying, whether that's Jacoby Myers, as the rumors have been talking about as well. I would not mind either of those two being our wide receiver too, but I would prefer Jacoby Myers just because he adds to our offense and gives us a thing that we really need, which is a savant at route running and sure hands, in the red zone. He's a big target as well at 6'2", 210, 215. So it's a really, really good pickup. So I hope that's something that we do. But again, with this defense, I don't know if it's Terrell Austin, if it is the players, but it's causing questions to be raised about Tomlin. And maybe Terrell Austin needs to go. I don't necessarily know if Tomlin needs to go, and if he does, it's one of those things where it could be an Andy Reid situation where he finds success elsewhere. But Tomlin's been at his best when he's had really good coordinators. The offense, again, hasn't really been the problem this year. Shout out to Arthur Smith. Even though I was never so high on him, it seems like, he's been having offense really, steady and doing things with Aaron Rodgers. So shout out to him. But Tomlin's the best when he has coordinators that, help the team win. And Terrell Austin is really bringing the team down. I don't think it's the players on the defense. It seems to be a scheme issue. So I don't know where we're gonna go. We have this game against the Colts, and I don't think we can pull up an upset. But you know, as we all know, Steeler fans, this would be the weird game that we play our best football against the best team in the NFL and the AFC right now. So who knows? But I'm not too optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a Steelers defense, passing wise, is the worst in the NFL this year, after 7 games. So, there's a lot that we were expecting from the Steelers defense, and it shows that paying all that money isn't everything. But I agree. I think it's more scheme versus players. That doesn't mean the players are absolved from any responsibility, and missing plays. You have individuals like Juan Thornhill, just completely missing the ball and not playing the ball like you're supposed to in that situation, and trying to stop them from getting a catch. Just trying to there's things like that from players that you see. The offensive line has shown time and time again that it's the weakness of the team, uh, and that's some of the reasons why Aaron Rodgers and offense weren't able to get those first downs and convert them into touchdowns on those drives. Uh, I think the Steelers are what we thought they were, right? I think they're good enough to get to the playoffs, and I believe that they're going to overachieve this weekend and shock the world and at any given Sunday, right? And the Colts have been in some tight games too. It hasn't all been blowouts every single time, but it seems like they're hitting their stride. I believe that Jonathan Taylor is the leading candidate for MVP. You take him away, I don't believe Danny Dimes would be as good. But the how it on the flip side, if you were to put Jonathan Taylor on the Steelers, I don't think that would change that much of the world either. I think the offense is doing better than the defense, and we were thinking that was going to be the opposite when the season started. So where do we go from here? I think the Steelers will have to look for some trade opportunities and get that wide receiver, someone that can make those catches in the dirty areas. And I think that on the defensive side, it might be worth it to try to look for some more help in certain key areas. But I think once the scheme is fixed, uh, as they progress through the season, and how they'll integrate some of the players like Jabril Peppers, and they just got Duggar from the Patriots, who uh, is coming off of a 4-year deal that he just signed last year, and meaning that there's some value to that type of player. Uh, I hope that the Steelers can bring it around. If not, I think the city is going to be pretty sad go moving forward. It's a very tough gauntlet. It might be one of those 8 and 9 seasons, those 8 and 9 Tomlin seasons, if they can't win uh, this game. I think against the Colts, but
Those
on any
89.
given Sunday, and I do think Tomlin is the type to get the most of his players, especially against marquee matchup, those 5-star matchups. So, Randy, you have any thoughts about the woes in the
Yeah,
Steel City?
I was gonna a question that came to mind as you guys were talking about the Tomlin situation and kind of like that idea of whether it's coach's scheme or game plan that you might need to move away from. Um, what do you guys think about kind of like legacy defensive coaches? Do you think a lot of them are being pushed out of the league because of also the way that the rules have developed over time with like obviously not only less big hits, but positioning that certain defensive schemes can uphold are honestly flipped on their head at times in comparison to days in the past. And I don't only think of Tomlin, but I think of someone like Belichick. Is that something that he also suffered with post Brady? Is the way that the game has really changed to more of that passing league and offensive favored with the way that penalties and rules changes have gone over the years. Do you think there's space for a Tomlin to have the same type of success in that environment?
I mean, I say yes. Reason why you see those coaches all the time. Dan Campbell is more of that coach.
Yeah.
You see um, Dan Quinn, defensive coach. And I know the defense is struggling, but the offense has been successful. I mean, you could say that's Kingsbury, but
Yeah.
those coaches, again, if they have the right things around them, they are and can be successful. There's plenty of defensive coaches that are successful. Um, I think it comes down to, you know, if you are the coach who's calling the plays, or if you have a coordinator who is calling the plays. And in Tomlin's case, it's Terrell Austin. And so Terrell Austin has been the guy who has been putting these players in the right scheme and position to make these plays. And again, not everyone is absolved of mistakes on the defense that they make, but for the most part, there's a pattern here when there's been 4 games of a team giving up over 450 plus yards. That's not a player issue. That's more of a scheme and coach issue. So, and again, to answer your question, I really don't think it's about the rule changes, because we've seen those guys be successful as coordinators and then get jobs as head coaches. So, yeah, I don't think that's really the issue.
Yeah, that I think the reason why I believe it's scheme is because of the nature of some of the yards that are being that are being gained by the opposing offense from the Steelers' perspective. Uh, I think about the Jamar Chase Thursday night game where uh, it seems like in previous years under the other different defensive coordinators we would have played that very differently, just from a schematic standpoint. Uh, but I do think that the game has evolved, and some of those schemes that the Steelers often find themselves in have become archaic, and some of those concepts are just certain coordinators know how to exploit them, and
Yeah.
depending on the certain matchups, and that's where the Steelers get burned. It seems like it's always the same thing. Maybe it's a tight end that is taller than some middle linebacker and is able to make those plays. And those are the type of plays that you see in key Steelers losses. Giving up big momentum plays, giving up key milestones to players that you've never even heard of, making you want to pick them up during the waiver wire the next week. And then it turns out they're really not that good. It was just that the Steelers let them get open. And that's very, uh, it's almost like copy and paste, it seems like, these things. And that's why a lot of people, especially here in the city right now, have gotten tired of Tomlin and feel like maybe Coach T has a lot to do with this.
Okay.
But I will say that Tomlin has gained enough from the Roonies where I don't think this will be like a final year. I believe that there will be another year to this, but I could also see them not extending that contract, which I
Especially,
believe
I mean,
it
if
goes
there's a
into.
year to have a rough year in y'all's division and be able to get away with it, it is this year.
Yeah. So it makes you think like, well, even if they do get to the playoffs, what will happen? But again, I think there's certain pieces in here where maybe this group figures it out as the season goes along, and starts stacking some wins against quality teams, um, because we know they can win against some of the bad teams. The Bengals was a rivalry game. Rivalry games are a toss up no matter who you are. And then the Packers are on some people's Super Bowl picks, so it's not like it's a scrub team that they lost to. That being said, you'd want the Steelers to show up against the big teams. They showed up for one half, and the second half they lost it. And I think things like adjustments in the schemes in the second half, I think, make it a really big difference here. So let's
Cool.
uh let's move on
Like,
over to the Commanders, and want to hear Randy's take here on the Washington Commanders as they lose to the Chiefs. Travis Kelsey a had a milestone day, tied the Chiefs TD record, and it was not the best 27-7 on Monday Night Football, but they were without their starting quarterback. Um, well, how are you feeling here on kind of overreaction? I guess it's Wednesday, so we've had some time to
yeah.
marinate, but has reality set in? Is this going to be one of those years where the Commanders have to play spoiler to one of these NFC East teams and are going to be on the outside looking in? Or you think that they're going to string out some wins together after Jane gets back?
Um, Gut reaction after game on Monday night against Kansas City Chiefs is that I'm worried team is going in the wrong direction. Injuries have not gone in our favor, and it's just one more bad situation or unavailable starting player away each week that seems to kind of chip away at just our chance at even putting out a good product. Um, or even fulfilling what looks like, I would say, even 80% of our full potential. The team I saw on Monday night was hobbled, and I felt that the defense did a great job in the first half of just keeping us in the game. But when our offense failed to produce anything of scale, it was just kind of like the dam was built, but it could only sustain the flood for so long. And then Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes, even with two turnovers, um, if you watch the game, you saw how dominant those drives were and how it really looked like they were in complete command of the Commanders for that entire second half. And but if I were to take my emotions out of it, look at it big picture, going to Kansas City, week 7, week 8, um, on the road against that team as they're finding their form in this season is a scary sight, I think, for anyone. Which is why I emphasized a few weeks back on the show about the game against the Bears and the Cowboys being of such importance because of the strength of the rest of the schedule to come. And I worried about exactly the scenario that we find ourselves in, which is losing 3 on the bounce, um, uncertain healthy of our quarterback, um, a, a hurting Debo, a hurting Terry McLaurin, and a seventh round rookie running back who is looking like the glue at this point, um, just in terms of who's been available and who can show up. I'm worried about the rest of the season. I think we still have a chance, but that chance is dependent upon our personnel. I hope we can get healthy. I hope so we can actually get a good look at what this team looks like sometime before December. Um, but it would be a shame if we just continue injured and then we never really know what we could have been if we had some of our key pieces able to function a little bit longer. But yeah, beyond that, I'm gonna show up every week and watch. But Monday night prime time, only getting 7 points is kind of an embarrassment. And again, I think our defense actually showed fight. They showed grit. But you can only hold on for so long against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And when your offense is giving you nothing in return to defend, um, I don't blame them for the pressure just eventually cracking them.
I mean, again, as I talked about Dan Quinn being a defensive coach, and the defense, I thought was a little more improved this year in terms of guys on the roster, and a second year with Dan Quinn being the guy. Um, I'm surprised that it's not better than what it is. It's really the Achilles heel, but also, the quarterback is the one that leads the offense, and typically games are decided by who has a better quarterback play. And if you don't have the rookie quarterback who took the team to an NFC championship, who honestly, when he has played outside of maybe you could say the Bears game, which even then it was more of a
He
slow
threw away.
start. Yeah, it, it's one of those things. He's hasn't really had a sophomore, slump that you can really say if it is considered a slump, it's because of how
Injury,
he's
yeah.
been hurt. But
Yep.
in terms of everything else, his stats are really good, and the team always has the best chance of winning when he's out there. So um, I think it was one of those things where everyone wanted Jayton to be out there. So it was truly a Jayton versus Patrick Mahomes game. And regardless of Patrick Mahomes won, it wouldn't have mattered. It just would have been one of those things where it's like, okay, at least we performed really, really well.
Yep.
It did suck because, the game was close. Defense actually stepped up early on, but just for whatever reason couldn't keep that same consistency. And maybe Andy Reid and the Chiefs offense figured it out. But yeah, I think this team is going to be just fine as long as Jay is there and healthy. I think the offense needs to stay healthy just all the way around. Um, and if that's the case, I do think you'll still get in there as a wild card. It does seem like the Eagles are catching their stride, so it is going to be interesting to see what happens. But um, anything can happen. Injuries, trades. We are, in the trade deadline area or time of the year. So who knows? But I see why you were worried a little bit. I don't think anyone expected Jayton to be out again. I mean, he was technically back against the Cowboys, but
Yep.
ended up getting hurt again. So maybe he should have sat out another game and then would have been ready for this game and things would have been different. But again, it seems like he's going to be coming back this week. And, you know, as long as he's healthy, you guys have a really good chance against the Seahawks. The Seahawks team has been playing really well, though. Sam Darnold has been really good. JSN is good. So
Yep.
should be an exciting Sunday night matchup.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but hope we can bounce back. If our defense can put together four quarters like the first two they did this week, I think we'll be all right with one of our three key offensive pieces returning. I even think Marcus Mariota is capable of managing a game for us. Um, but it comes down to that balance, and our offense has to give the defense a break too when they are playing as well as our defense did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the Commanders have a really tough schedule moving forward, and I see a lot of parallels between our two teams here, as both played pretty decent in the first half, but the second half left more to be desired. But let's move on to just talking about just like the NFL at large here. I mean, it was such a weird week. I mean, the average margin of victory was about 17.5 points. And there's a lot of interesting things. I talked about Jonathan Taylor earlier, and he had another big day. James Cook ran for over 200 plus yards. Uh, the Eagles also had 200 plus yards together as a group too. So there was a lot of teams that ran the ball a lot, and then we also saw some rookie QBs like Bo Nix who has kind of grown up now, out here throwing 4 TDs against a Dallas team that some folks were kind of high on as they were starting to put up some points. And then CJ Stroud winning against the 49ers team, and then they have a pretty good defense. So we're kind of seeing all these younger folk, and then obviously we talked about Jordan Love beating the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. So you're kind of seeing this in all the leagues, and I know at least for us here at the show, we grew up with some of these players, and that ship has sailed now, and uh, the young players are now here. So. Uh, the other story that I thought was really interesting is the Jets getting their first win of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals, who were just coming off a very big high, winning against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Flacco actually had a pretty decent day, but they ended up coming back. And let's see if we take a look at the play that Brees Hall had where he threw a touchdown to put the team ahead. Let's see.
Jets. Yeah, those
Jets.
players definitely saw that viral video of the kid saying he hates that he was born into being a Jets fan.
Yes. Yeah, I saw
He
that.
hates- Those players definitely saw that shit and we were like, yo, we are literally like ruining our fans' lives. We got to do
Yeah.
something.
So I don't know if this is he just threw it up or what. The ball's kind of wobbly, but man, to win the game and uh, to kind of do it all for your team, I think is really next level. And I feel bad for him. I mean, his team isn't doing too well, and he's he would be a superstar, I think, in the right offense. And the other story about the Jets too is with Justin Fields and how he was benched, but because of injury, ended up playing the game and winning the game for them through a touchdown pass in the game, and also former Jets player Nick Mangold passing away too. So maybe it was just that was just their day. It was just the Jets had to show and prove and in a nail biter here. Uh,
Did
but
Justin Fields say he was like crying in the shower or something like that? What did he say in his press conference?
he basically attributed it to just being happy, just I think to God. I think that's what he said. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Been a lot for me, emotionally, spiritually. Um, when I was on my knees,
Justin Field.
I was
Justin
damn near about to
Fields.
start crying, but not because we won, but just because of
Mm-hmm.
the goodness of God and just how everything, works for the greater good. Everything that I've been through this past week, everything that we've been through as a team these past 7 weeks. It was a lot of ups and downs. You know, I got a lot of support from my teammates, from my brothers, from my family, from my friends, and most of all, I'm just thankful
Dun 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 dun
Jesus
dun
that
dun 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 dun.
he blessed me. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, so I mean that
Yeah.
just a lot there for the Jets that happened there. But I mean, what were your guys' kind of favorite moments or notable moments of the week?
I mean, first and foremost, I want to say prayers up to Cam Scatterbo um, for
Scat man.
horrific injury. Jackson Dart, now has to carry the Giants on his own.
Yeah,
So
no neighbors, no Scatabo.
yeah, so losing those two key pieces is unfortunate for that young team. They were starting to look really good, and I hope
Mm-hmm.
that they're able to adjust and cope. Now we'll really see how good of a prospect Jackson Dart is, because he's been essentially hobbled at this point, and we'll see if he can step into that leadership role and still grind out some good performances with that team. I think Josh Allen is just quietly having such a really good year with the Bills. I think the Bears showed their true colors. Despite winning a close one against us, they looked like the Bears against the Ravens this week, and an injured Ravens at that. Um, the Texans surprised me. I know we were talking about CJ Stroud. I don't think he had the strongest performance, but is showing signs of life there. And they were able to get out a win there. And the team is, I think, just one game under 500. So I think it'll be interesting to see where Texans go from there. Um, I think the Bucks are the real deal. Cowboys are frauds. Sean Payton is a great coach. Bo Nix looks good. Um, yeah, Danny Dimes.
Oh,
And I think only other game I can think of is Miami. Um, Tua showing signs of life as well. Maybe the CT is not that bad. And I think after the comments in the media and some of the analyzation of his words, and also Coach Mike McDaniel saying that everyone's spot is up for grabs and that everyone needs to really take a look at what they're doing to help the team perform. And then to come out and do that against the Atlanta team, which really is no slouch, but they were able to really command that game, and Atlanta never looked like they were in it.
yeah. I was actually more. I was very surprised about that game. I thought that was going to be somewhat of a shootout type game for a little bit, and then Atlanta maybe take over and win that game. Um, so yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, Tua played much better. I don't know. This Dolphins team is very weird. It'll be interesting to see what they actually do once the season's over. Um, I'm not really that high on Tua, so I feel like they need to move on from him. I actually think Mike McDaniel would be fine staying there, but I just think him and Tua as a pair don't work. But beyond that, the trade deadline coming around, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's kind of what I'm interested in these next couple of weeks. A lot can happen, especially with teams, in with their season pretty much over. The Jets at this point could give up anyone. Maybe Garrett Wilson goes on the market, and a team like the Steelers can get him on the team. You can have again a Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed down in New Orleans. Go to the Steelers or any one of these teams that needs some receiver depth. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening in the next couple of weeks before the deadline solidifies. But um, Ravens seem to be back on track. No Lamar, um, but beat a hot Bears team. The offense seems to have been rolling. Caleb was playing some of his best football as of late, and that defense was able to play very well. They played good enough to contain that offense, and Huntley was able to help surge that offense. Obviously feeding that beast King Henry, Derrick Henry, but um, with their game tomorrow against the Dolphins, if they're able to win that, I mean, there's like squarely back in position to end up taking the division. The Steelers having fallen the last two games, so was interested to see how they're going to shape up for the rest of the year. And then something that tied to my spiel last week, tight end national tight ends week. They all had a really really good. Well, most of the tight ends had a really good week, whether they scored touchdowns or just had a really good stat output. It was a good weekend for tight ends as normal. Tucker Krafts, obviously, that's probably the most notable one we can talk about because he had a really good game on prime time Sunday night. A Gadskin who was, or yeah, Oronde Gadsden, sorry, who was my priority waiver pick for last week. He had a really good game on Thursday night, prime time as well. George Kittle had a great game, so it's
Goddard.
it's always it's something that's been pretty successful for tight ends. It seems like offenses are able to feed these tight ends, and for some reason defenses don't know how to stop them, even though they know it's going to be a week where they can feast. So, but yeah, those were some of the things that I was really excited about. You already had talked about some things that you guys both mentioned some things that I was also, kind of sad or, wanted to kind of point out to with the Jets and then also like Scat's injury. So prayers to Scat. Hope he recovers very quickly and really looking forward to seeing what that Giants offense looks like next season with a Dart healthy with his weapons healthy as well. So it'll be nice. So
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic, and we were going to talk a little bit about baseball and the World Series that's been going on. Uh, the game tonight was in LA, and the Toronto Blue Jays were able to beat the Dodgers. The rookie Savage set a World Series record, 12 strikes in the game, and he was a stone cold killer. I mean, they were just going all in on it, and there have been some crazy pitching performances in this postseason alone. Yamamoto having two complete games, and a couple of games ago, it went to 18 innings. It went into extra innings, and Yamamoto was warming up, and they were. That's just how much they are getting usage out of their pitchers here. But tonight, it was all about the Blue Jays, and they were able to get the best out of their players tonight. So uh, I think this World Series was going one way, and now it's kind of been like a roller coaster ride. But we should have known. I think playing 18 innings and then Shohei having to pitch and hit. I wonder how much fatigue he had. I think if I'm not mistaken, the game went over midnight, so he ended up pitching less than 24 hours later. And I couldn't imagine doing that. And you would never see that in certain sports like football, obviously, because of the schedule. But to be able to pitch and then hit uh, after being on base a record 9 times in that game as well, it's been a crazy postseason for him. But it might be one that at this point seems like it's trending uh, in the negative for the Dodgers here. So I mean, 18 innings is I think tied with the World Series, and Freddie Freeman ended
mhm.
up getting that walk off homer at the end there. But yeah, I mean Trey Savage tonight just was killing it, and then just getting the best out of well-known Dodgers like Mookie Betts and Freddie
Mookie
Freeman,
Betts.
unable to come up big tonight. So Game 6 is going to be back in Toronto. Um, Toronto, it is kind of this Canada versus the U.S. type of game. So I really wonder,
LA
what's going to
versus
happen.
Toronto, Kendrick versus Drake.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the Kendrick and Drake beef reviving itself. Hopefully
In
that
the
can
World
bring hip hop back into the top 40. It's been a dry spell for the genre. But
That's
anyway, any thoughts on the World Series?
uh,
that long game was crazy. That's pretty much like all I've got to say. I think I am pulling for the Dodgers though. Just as
you're an American.
a force of good, an American. I think the Blue Jays had a great run. Seeing them knock off the Yankees, though, and how many New Yorkers that it hurt. I gotta just stand with my neighbors, and I'll support the NL team as well as a Nats fan. So it's really been, I think, a good October of baseball. There were some good wild card series that flowed into the divisionals, and I think you can't ask for a more entertaining. They gave you an extra game, 18 innings. We're really 6 games
Literally an
deep,
extra game.
like
Mhm.
at this point. But yeah, I think it's good to see entertaining playoff baseball, and I think the sport needs stars like Otani. He's bringing that feeling back that I think the MLB at certain points can feel devoid of. Not that there's not talent, but talent that transcends the sport the way that Shohei has. And I think has kind of also opened a gateway for more foreign players that aren't from the Caribbean or traditional areas where we think to farm of baseball players from. So yeah, I'm all for it. I hope it goes 7 games, and um yeah, go Dodgers.
So I do think this will go 7 games. And to your point, this being as exciting as it is really good for the MLB and for his future. I think it's starting to become more exciting as we've seen in the regular season, in particular, higher scoring games. We would never see games in the past where, in the past 5 years, we've seen, a team put up 20 plus points, and it's happened multiple times with different teams and with the same team. So it's just kind of interesting, and it's kind of interesting to see how the sport has really elevated itself, and I think this is only making it even better for the sport, especially when you have the best player in the sport in on the biggest stage, should I say, for the sport in the World Series here. So um, I think to set, yeah, it's really great. And something that I think Sal had mentioned that, with Savage is, with the pitching, I think overall that's really what's been able to kind of help them surge and get this win here is that their pitching is really good. Um, on top of that, they have really good depth just overall in terms of like their batters. Um, I think there's more star power, obviously, here when you talk about familiar names, as you mentioned, Sal, with Mookie, and even when we talk about here with Shohei and Freddie and things like that. But I think the Blue Jays just have like a longer line where you're like, okay, like I gotta give this man a little bit of respect. I gotta give this person a little more respect, even though you're common or casual MLB fan wouldn't necessarily know who they were. So I think that's really helping them and the difference of like star power and talent. So this has been a very interesting, World Series. It kind of reminds me of last year's NBA Finals, where similarly you had a team full of star power versus a team that had maybe one star and a bunch of solid role players or solid like quality vets, and they were able to push that highly star powered team to their limits. So I think this is what we're seeing here, and that's always like a fun thing to watch on the grandest stage in any sport. So again, I think this is going to go to 7 games, and I'm super excited to see how it all turns out. I kind of don't necessarily care, but I do really like Shohei, so I am kind of rooting for Dodgers myself. Again, I guess it's because I'm American.
America first.
America first.
um, but yeah, I think we're gonna have Yamamoto out there against Gaussman. I think Yamamoto has a 3-1 record. Gaussman with the 2-2. Like I said, Yamamoto pitching back-to-back complete games, which is just unheard of. It's a legendary stuff. But before we pivot off of the baseball, I did want to show Vladdy hitting the home run today in this game. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Let's see it. Bye-bye.
First pitch, and now Vlad Jr. hooks the ball down the left field line.
Just like the way like the swing is just so effortless. It's like it's almost like the ball just travels with it, and like you don't even like really hear it like hit contact with this thing.
On the very first pitch, and now Vlad Jr. hooks the ball down the
And it's
left
just
field
out of
line.
there.
They've
The
got
bomb.
to back to start game.
Bye-bye.
And this was the second at bat of the game. So the first one was a home run. Second one was another solo home run. And that kind of just set the momentum and the tone for the whole game. So a lot of sad faces out there in LA. But I did see some Blue Jays fans out there, so I'm sure there's a lot of transplants out there out living in the LA region. So again, LA versus Toronto. We'll see the next matchup, Game 6, tomorrow. That should be very interesting. Let's move on over to our next sport, MMA, over to the UFC. UFC 321 had a no contest, actually. There was a stoppage, an eye poke, and it had Tom Aspinwall versus Cyril Gane in Abu Dhabi, and it ends in the worst way possible for fans who respect, been waiting all night for a fight. For us, it was earlier in the day. But Cyril Gane, who we last saw lose to John Jones in, it almost felt like in an embarrassing fashion, actually gave it to Tom. I mean, he's like bleeding, and then at one point, Cyril Gane has his hands, and it's almost like his whole knuckle was inside of his eye. Tom said he couldn't see; his vision was compromised, and they ended up calling the fight. So, what do you guys think? Do you feel like what should be like the penalty here for like an eye poke, right? Like is like an eye poke, like you should get like points deducted for a round, obviously, but should it be like fines? Like, and there's certain fighters, some of them are considered one of the greatest of all time. It seems like it's always a problem, and they're always poking an eye
Yeah.
here and there. So is this just like a part of fighting, and like it's incidental, but is there even such thing as
I think,
incidental versus intentional, right? Let's say even if you're playing
yeah.
soccer and you commit a foul and it's a red card foul, does it matter if it was intentional or not? Like if it endangers the other player, or in football, right? Like if you get a face mask, it doesn't matter if it's incidental or not. It used to, but they've kind of moved away from that. So the reason why it was a no contest versus a DQ here was because they thought that it was an incidental contact versus malicious, trying to game the system to win. So, what are your guys' thoughts here on Aspinwall getting his eye poked out as he tries to defend his heavyweight
Yeah,
belt?
I think it was absolutely intentional. I do think that no contest is a fine ruling, though, in this case, because I think it can be hard to prove intent. But I think that anyone knows that it's one of those type of things. We see this all the time in boxing. There are certain fighters who are really shifty with their head, and they use that to create accidental headbutts where the referee technically, will warn or try to separate both fighters and say, hey, you're getting close, you might headbutt your opponent. But if it once it if and when it does actually happen, They're just simply deducting a point, and then a
That's
warning
deep.
if it happens again. So, but when you're dealing with something like poking someone in the eyes, where it's going to compromise their vision, you can't just do a warning for that. So that's where I think the no contest should come into play. I do think there should be some sort of a fine or like maybe even a cool down period of, hey, you can't take a fight for X amount of time if you did something that's without the rules of the league. Um, a ban of some sorts just to really deter other fighters who are in that position from thinking, you know what, maybe the ref doesn't call it for me. Can I gain an advantage by raking my hand across my opponent's face and then aggressively like indenting my fingers? And I think it is one of those things that, depending on the referee, is how it's going to be called. It's a judgment call in that situation. But I also think we're really lucky that we didn't see an eye get ripped out of its socket on TV. As much as we understand and appreciate the barbaric nature of combat sports like MMA, the reality is that no one really wants to see something that gory. Where we do want to see mixed martial arts, we don't want to see a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah, that's right.
I
And
think,
before I
no,
let you go, Quay, just because you said
yeah.
Mortal Kombat fatality, I think we have to show the blood sport meme that was being passed around, which is the movie that Mortal Kombat was based on with John Claude Van Damme.
I love this movie. One of my favorite movies ever.
I saw this, I was dying. I can't believe it so much. I'm sure a lot of UFC fans love Bloodsport. They probably religiously idolize this movie.
Watch it. They probably watch while they train.
Yeah. What a classic. That's hilarious. But yeah, just wanted to show that. But yeah, Quay, what were your thoughts on the fight this weekend?
I actually thought it seemed a little more incidental. Maybe like almost just kind of reactionary when your hand gets in, because I feel like the hand to the face was more of a accidental thing, and then you pull away from something and there's kind of that like bite down a little bit, or like kind of scrape motion type of thing, just because of its a natural reaction. But um I don't think there's any hard feelings between any of them. um I think they both were kind of upset that the fight couldn't continue because of it. um you know, I don't see why personally, Cyril Gane would had to, like, he kind of was winning the round, so that's why I was like, if that's another reason why I don't think it was necessarily like on purpose. But again, you can never prove intent. You can never prove if it was or wasn't, because it's just one of those things where, how can you tell? But it is interesting. Me and Sal actually were talking about this a little earlier too. Um, the whole the whole eye poking thing that hasn't it's not just a new occurrence. It's happened, in the past as well, with different fighters involved. And it do I wonder if there needs to be necessarily a rule about open hands, but that is a way to kind of have stance too. Like, there's a lot of fighters who do have stance like this, you know. So I don't know if you can necessarily take that away, but how do you officiate fully? Like, if someone has like an open hand kind of close to face where they can potentially poke an eye or something, which gives them an unfair advantage, or could lead into something like this where we have a no contest. So it was really unfortunate for it to be a no contest and for that to happen. I've even seen some people say um, it was kind of stupid. It sucked that he couldn't continue to fight, or he didn't want to continue to fight, and it's just kind of like I wouldn't necessarily want to jeopardize my holding of the belt if I wasn't 100%. And also that would rob the fans of a fight that would inevitably have excuses, on both ends, where it's just like, oh, I couldn't see. Oh, it didn't matter. I was already beating you before you couldn't see, and all these different things. So I'm glad that, seems like we're getting a rematch. Dana was very much, pushing that during the press conference after the fight, um, where maybe it's going to happen in January at the start of the year, which that'll be a good fight to kind of start out the year. Good card. We'll see how that else will fill, or how else that will fill out. But um, again, kind of sad that that's how that fight ended there. But we're gonna get it sooner rather than later, which will be nice.
Yeah, yeah, I think they definitely got to run it back. I mean, that's not the way that you want to go about ending a fight. Um, there was the Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad. I think he was the other one where I remember he was crying as he got his eye poked. And you train so hard, and for it to just all go away because of just something, whether it was incidental or not, it's a serious offense that's happening. And I wonder if initiatives like maybe taking away from a fighter's purse for those types of uh, violations and those types of infractions, whether or not that would help out with those occurrences from happening. But at the end of the day, Aspinall gets to retain the belt. He doesn't get to get a defense, but at least they get to inevitably, I think, match up with the rematch. Um, Other news that happened that night: Mackenzie Dern won the vacant strawweight title. That was impressive. And there was also a crazy first round head kick KO by Sal Killed. Um, where yeah, I wish I had the clip on me. I forgot to pull that one up, but I did see that one. That one was pretty crazy too. So lots of crazy highs and lots of lows from the pay-per-view event. The heavyweight division for now is on hold, which is very frustrating. Just because it felt like it was held hostage by John Jones for a year and a half, and now it's kind of on hold again. So let's pivot over to the NBA and do a little around the horn on some of the stuff that's happened in the past week. Any thoughts on the opening week, opening first couple of days here of the NBA season?
Yeah,
It's
basketball is back. Basketball is back.
oh,
Basketball.
Oh, we playing basketball. I mean,
uh,
it's been good
got
though.
played like Mike.
To see the teams getting back out there. I think it's too early to make any determinations, but a lot of the teams look like they are starting the season out the gate, ready to rip. I want to see how long that lasts. NBA season is fairly long, and that fatigue usually sets in. We now have the in the year tournament, so looking forward to the build up that comes with that. It usually kind of sneaks up on you and comes out of nowhere. And then next thing we know, some team is celebrating winning this tournament that we're like, oh yeah, that's there. Um, and I think right now we're in the point where teams are just trying to ramp up and find their rhythm before that. And there's a lot of new looks. KD looks good in Houston. One of the notable new looks, especially at his age. I think when he clapped back on Twitter at that dude and said he's a coach's dream, he could not have been more right in the sense of his efficiency and being able to fit into any type of squad and add value. Um, Wizards look shambolic, but I know our front office doesn't care about winning. And yeah, other than that, I just want to see some good basketball, and I'm excited to see the season develop. Western Conference especially. Will LeBron play or not? Is his sciatica cooked? And yeah.
He needs to
Yeah,
stretch it.
yeah, he needs to stretch it. Like I said in my spiel last week, can't end up with a tight end like that. Only tight ends in the NFL. But no, that I think the first week of the NBA has really been super exciting. The offense has been really, really crazy. I mean, you're seeing outputs where, I mean, combined, we're having teams score, 260 point plus points. It's been very high powered. The Thunder and Shea are picking up right where they left off. Um, they've gone into multiple double overtime games already this season. Does not make any sense, but they won, and it goes to show this is a team that knows how to win those tight, close games, which champions, figure out how to do. So they are a very fun team. What talk about LeBron and the sciatica. Lakers also don't have Doncic right now, but doesn't matter. Austin Reeves has elevated his game and has been holding this team afloat. I mean, the other night dropped 51. Uh, Brought the team back, or kept the team back in front to make sure that the Timberwolves didn't beat them. So um, he he's taking another level, and I think a lot of people are going to know truly who Austin Reeves is if they are just a casual basketball fan. Um, and then I also want to mention two different individual players, different statures, totally different positions, but Wemby and Victor Wembanyama and Tyrese Maxey, these two have done something that is not ever heard of. It's the first time it's ever happened individually for these two different players. For Wemby, he is the first player to have over 100 points and 15 plus blocks in the first three games. He did that in the very first three games. It's incredible. And then Tyrese Maxey, first player to have 150 points and 30 assists in the first four games. So crazy, crazy start off. And Maxey being kind of the engine now that runs that 76ers offense, with Embiid not at 100% and seemingly never going to be at 100%. They're undefeated and almost lost to a Washington Wizards team that is full of young guys and some old vets, but they put up a really, really good fight, took that game into overtime. So again, there's just a lot of great offense going on right now in the NBA. Some really fun teams that are young, some good teams that have been established. Warriors are doing their thing on offense and defense, running with pace. They said this is like one of the older teams of the league, but they're able to run night in and night out and keep the pace moving. So like you said, Randy, I think it's early and you can't really say who's, one of the best teams right now, who is truly going to, be 1 through 8 when it comes down to it, in either conference. But it's been a fun first week in the NBA.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. And even tonight or last night, I mean, they the Lakers came back 20 on the Timberwolves, and like you said, Austin Reeves. I think Guru texted me earlier this week about him scoring, uh, I think 50 plus points. So, and if you've watched the show, one of the things that Guru says is that anyone can score 50 in the league.
Yeah, he did say
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
And his team, the Utah Jazz, had some standout
Lowry
performance
Markkinen,
there. Yeah, Markkinen 32 points, even though they ended up losing.
Deontay George.
So they have a lot going there.
The
Uh,
marketing dropped 50 also.
yeah, Yeah, he
He
did.
dropped 51.
He dropped
Yeah.
51. Yeah, exactly. He sent me Guru sent me a screenshot of Markkinen as well, hitting 50, which is just more, I guess, proof that anyone
Propaganda.
could score 50 in
It's
NBA,
just propaganda.
according to Guru. So we'll see if we get Guru back on here to talk about his Utah Jazz and give us a little bit of NBA talk. So yeah, we just wanted to give a little bit of it around the NBA reactions. It's very early in the season. We're just kind of picking at a couple of games here and there, so it's not really much we can tell until we see a lot bigger body of work from all the NBA teams. So let's pivot back over to the NFL and talk about some of the upcoming matchups. Maybe we don't have to go through all the games. Maybe just talk about one game in particular, and that's between the Chiefs and the Bills. And the Bills won their last four regular season matchups against the Chiefs. So, what can we expect here from the marquee matchup, which could be a preview of the AFC divisional round or maybe even championship round?
I feel like it's as typical as it's always been. That's something we can expect, which is lots of points. And whoever has the ball last wins. A potential overtime type of game as well. But as we've seen with these Bills Chiefs games, it's never low scoring. It's always a high scoring affair. Quarterbacks put on a show. Both teams are fully healthy on offense. Have a really, really good offense for both teams. Obviously, you would point out the Chiefs being a better offense and all with the likes of like Travis Kelsey, Rasheed Rice. Hollywood Brown might be hurt, but also Xavier Worthy. Juju Smith-Schuster still makes the timely catch over the middle or for the first down. So but you got the likes of like a Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid at tight end, James Cook being a top 3 to 5 running back, just based off of this season in terms of his numbers. Um, it's it's going to be a shootout, as I said, and I think it's going to come down to as the ball lasts. And I I want to give the game to the Bills because I do think to a certain degree they have the Chiefs figured out. But this is a Chiefs offense that is just getting better and better. Um, and I don't know if it's just going to be that easy to really just stop them on every drive. But um, it's going to be interesting. So I'm gonna go with my heart here, and I'm gonna say it's the Bills, but my brain is definitely saying it's going to be the Chiefs. But you never know. It's any given Sunday, so this is going to be a fun matchup. 34-30.
Wow, high
Final
scoring.
score. High scoring. 34-30.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see the Chiefs winning this one uh, against the Bills. I just feel like they're trending the right way. I believe that Rasheed Rice has really made a difference, and now all of a sudden we're seeing Travis Kelsey look like he can eat now in the offense. I think they having him has really changed things. Um, and I think that the Bills are still, they're what happens when, let's say, the Chiefs stop that run game, then can
Mm-hmm.
they expect Josh Allen to throw the ball and 30, 40 times? And we've seen it before. But this Chiefs defense is also kind of, I think, trending in that direction. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring. I think we're going to see something like 27-21 Chiefs.
Okay. 27-21. Not mad at that. Not mad at that.
Yeah. Randy, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Randy? We still have Randy here? Well, let's keep it moving.
Uh,
And I think we talked about some of the other matchups. Randy gave us his preview of the kind of Commanders game. We talked about the Steelers game as they are going to go play the number one team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. We briefly spoke about the Ravens and how they have a big marquee matchup this Thursday against the Dolphins. And if they get Lamar back and Derrick Henry and Lamar can, gain a lot of yards with their legs, opens up the passing game, and maybe that gets ugly. Or maybe it's a trap game for this Baltimore team that really, really needs a win. But what's exactly a trap game when you already have all those losses? So they're in desperation mode. So I think most of the league is expecting them to kind of start there. They already started their coming last week, and now this week it'll get better with some of the star players coming back, especially Lamar there. I think they got Roquan a couple games back, and these things we've seen with the Ravens time again. They fix the defense. I think even last year wasn't doing that well to the second half of the year either. So
Yep.
we'll see how they adapt as they move forward. A lot of injuries early on that season, so they have been playing less than how they were expecting, but looks like they're coming back to form. Um, so yeah, I think that's it in terms of our preview. Don't want to get too deep into it and drag us on for too long, but let's move over to Black Belly's waiver wonders for those who need a player for week 9.
Welcome back, everyone, to Black Belly's Waiver Wonders. Again, as always, it is a pleasure. This is something I always enjoy doing to help anyone in their fantasy ventures, to win that championship, the elusive fantasy football championship. For those who understand and watch the league, if you've never seen the league, it's the best show when it comes to fantasy football. It's the only show to watch when it comes to fantasy football. But again, thank you for tuning in. It is definitely a pleasure as always. And so, without further ado, let's just get right into it. The very first, we don't have too much of a waiver wonders list this week. As we get down to like the nitty gritty, it starts to become a little tougher. Teams just kind of get more solidified. You know who you need, what you need. So we'll go over a few others that we've talked about in the past, but we're going to start with the newer guys here. So Chimere, DK. I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought it was just Dyke, but it's DK. Wide receiver for the Titans. He's only owned in 17% of leagues. In the 2 weeks that he has been a part of this offense since Callahan's firing, it seems like he has a pretty decent rapport with Cam Ward. He had 7 receptions, 93 yards last game. Again, seems as though just out of nowhere, as he's been activated as more as the number one receiver, he's been getting the looks, he's been getting the targets. So it seems as though there is a connection there. So if you need a receiver to start for you this week because you have one on bye, or you need a receiver that could probably be on your team for the rest of the year and put up some decent numbers in an offense that has to throw the ball, has to make something happen because they're always playing from behind. Could be a really good selection here. So Shamari DK from the Titans, go out and get him. We're going to stay with the Titans here with the second selection and talk about Tajay Spears for the running back for the Titans. 59 rushing yards and a touchdown, 3 receptions, 23 yards. He's owned in 47% of or 42% of leagues. He is the spark plug on that offense. While Tony Pollard tends to, give more of the harder earned yards, he's more of the early down back. Tajay Spears gets more of that change of pace, which means he's out there more for passing downs, which gives him a little bit more upside. But again, for a team that needs to score points, and he's been much better since Callahan has been fired, Tajay Spears would be a really good running back to pick up, starring your flex. or to start in your running back position if you have one that is out for the week due to a bye or even perhaps an injury. Maybe you had Scatabo, which sad, very, very sad. But last but not least, in terms of the final new waiver wonder picks, it's going to be Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. 4 receptions, 85 yards against the Steelers in his first game back after having an ACL injury last year. He's only owned in 27% of leagues. He is Jordan Love's favorite target, tends to be his favorite target. If you look at the years that him and Jordan Love have been together on the same offense, he has had monster games where he looks for Watson because Watson's one of those receivers that just has elite pure speed and easily get behind a defense. Jordan Love has the arm to get the ball to him. So as he's starting to get more acclimated and healthier and up to game speed in this offense, we're going to see those numbers climb. That's 12.5 fantasy points last week, and that's his first game back. I don't think we're going to, see that number go down, especially since they don't have Jayden Reed back yet. Wicks hasn't really been stepping up as much. Doubs has been Doubs, but and Tucker Kraft obviously has probably taken over as probably the second option on that offense to maybe even number one option on that offense. But Christian Watson, when he is healthy, again, is Jordan Love's ultimate favorite target. Looking for him deep, and obviously those explosive plays are what you look for in fantasy, and he can get you those touchdowns. So last but not least, again, Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And then just some of the miscellaneous guys that I'm going to talk about that I've mentioned in the past with Cam Scadabo's injury, that opens the door wide open for Tyrone Tracy Jr. and also Devin Singletary. Those are really good running backs to add to your team. As the Giants like to run the ball, but Tracy offers a little more speed explosion, and he also gets the ball out of the backfield. So he's definitely going to be the running back to choose and prefer. Another option here that I would go for is, if he's still available, is like a Bam Knight. Seeing that Michael Carter has been put back to the practice squad, that is someone to pick up. I never mentioned Trey Benson. He's still on IR, but he's coming back soon, so that's someone else to look at. And then you have like a receiver like like Booty for the Patriots. He's been having a consistent couple of weeks with touchdowns and as the big explosion guy on offense. So, yep, that's another receiver. Someone I've mentioned in the past. And, last but not least here, someone else that we could mention that probably be a decent pickup for the waiver wonder is getting someone like this is staying actually with staying with the Cardinals here, and that's another running back here, and that is getting DeMarcado. So again, and one more receiver, Malik Washington for the Dolphins as well, scored his first touchdown this week. So, but outside of that, that's all I have for you guys. Those first three was the main, but just wanted to call back to some of the guys in the past that, could use on the team that's kind of showing some signs of, output. So I hope, as always, this was good information, but do not blame me if, that you do not do well with your selections that I've given you. This is all from the heart. This is all me doing some research for you, but I don't control these NFL players. So, but I hope you guys get your win this week. I hope I can get a win, especially in my Seattle league with friends. So good luck, and Black Belly appreciates you.
Well, thanks, Black Belichick. for sharing some of the wisdom and hopefully getting some of us closer to playoff contention. And I know that I've used some of these waiver wire picks. I know DK especially. I have completely uh, beat Black Belly to it, I guess, in terms of getting it out there. But in a different league that we're not in, so uh, was able to. I guess we're all on the same page here on the spiel. But that's it for our show. Now it is time for our spiel segment. Um, and yeah, Quay, did you have a spiel for tonight?
Yeah, just very quickly. As you heard me mention a couple times, talk about the trade deadline. So that means there's going to be some changes around the corner, and you know, as that's happening in the NFL, I wanted to kind of talk about change in life. Nothing serious with me, as I've talked about things that's in the past that's been going good for me, but just in general for those that maybe are scared of change or feel as though change is hard. Um, you know, it's sometimes change on the other end is a good thing. Change, we can look at it through the seasons, and that happens for a purpose, happens for a reason. Maybe this change is in a new job. Maybe there's change in relationship, friendships, and those things again can be very, very scary. Maybe you move to a new state. I moved to a new state when I was only 20 years old. Same thing with Sal. He moved to a new state after graduating college, and it was just one of those things where, it was a totally new experience, and you know, we did it and made the most of it, and it probably helped us, learn some things about ourselves and see some new things we probably never thought we would see. And it's one of those things where you just, as scary as it may be or can be sometimes, or as we always think we can predict and even maybe plan out what we think something is going to look like or we want it to look like, that's just not the reality of it. And we just have to kind of go with the flow with change. And so, these guys in the NFL, they do this all the time. They know that it's the most nerve-wracking thing, especially this time of the season for them. But they persevere, they move forward, and they make the most of their new situations. And sometimes these guys earn new contracts with that team or with a totally different team in an environment and in the area that they want to be. And that's the beauty about change. It may put you in a position that helps you get to where you want to go. So I say that to say, just kind of look at change as that opportunity, to where maybe this is your stepping stone, to reach your, actual desired goal. So hope my
Yeah.
spiel helps you guys out.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Quay, for those words of wisdom. I know a lot of us deal with change in different ways, but if we embrace it, then that change can be what propels us to greater change and becoming a better version of ourselves. I have, I think, a serious spiel, and that's just regarding all the people that have fallen. The other day, someone fell at PPG Arena from a very, very high height. The other
Mm,
night at Acrisure, I think someone from NBC, or not NBC, yeah, from NBC, from Sunday Night Football, videographer fell off of the Videotron, and then during the summer, someone fell during the Pirates game. So what's going on here with these Pittsburgh sports and all these people falling from high heights? So thoughts and prayers to all the victims, and hopefully the organizations figure out ways to prevent that from happening, whether it's to not allow fans that are visibly intoxicated to be up that high, or other measures I
hmm
think that I would definitely support. So That's it for the rest of the show. It has been a long show, and I hope everyone here has enjoyed it. So, yeah, thank you so much from all of our guests here, from Quai over in Arizona, Randy over in New Jersey, me over here in Pittsburgh. It's your boy Sal. It's on Mr. Spiel Sports Talk Show. I hope you have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Have a great one.